Hello, and welcome to my newest review. We are continuing with Men I Trust discography, and now we are on their fourth full-length studio album, Untourable Album. Following the success of their previous album, Untourable Jazz, Men I Trust quickly hit stages for tour, and once that was over, unfortunately, the global lockdown began with COVID-19. While most people saw this as a moment of sorrow, despair, and obviously involuntary solitude, Men I Trust saw this as an opportunity for them to get back in the studio and to experiment with their sound and try to make new stuff that had some different flavor than their previous projects. The title, Untourable Album, obviously got its name from the pandemic, as they wouldn't be touring with these songs. Ironically, though, one of the members got injured during the early production of the album, and so that delayed production, and by the time they ended up releasing the album, venues were starting to open up again and things were slowly starting to get back to normal, and the Untourable album became tourable. So kind of a funny thing that happened there. But as I said, this project doesn't see the group trying out. But as I said, the project does see the group trying out a myriad of new sounds, but nothing sounds completely out of their field or super unfamiliar with anything we've heard before. The project features just more synths and electronic-based instrumentation, and some heavier sounds too along the way. From Lifelong Song to Before Dawn, we get these sounds that are still obviously very ethereal and dreamy that the group is known for, but used within a different sense and have a bit of a different tone to it. Things on Untourable Album feel darker and even a bit more depressing than what we were getting on Untourable Jazz or even on Headroom. On this LP, though, it is cut down a lot from their 24 track that were on Untourable Jazz, and this now has 13 songs with a runtime of just about 36 minutes. And I think that this really benefits the album. As I said, in Untourable Jazz, you really kind of, towards the end of that, it kind of starts to drag on and you really feel the length towards the end of that. But with this, it feels very concise, and they didn't try to overload it with all these different sounds that they were trying. But let's talk about the best songs here. My favorites are going to be Tree Among Shrubs, Serenade of Water, 5 a.m. Waltz, and Lifelong Song. While I feel like Untourable Album sounds like it was recorded or intended to sound like you'd hear it on a gloomy day, much like what is pictured on the actual cover of the album, Tree Among Shrubs is one of the ones that feels like they took basically what they were known for, very happy, sort of upbeat and calming, and it was a nice return to form for them. I think it's still, even though this is a bit more of an upbeat song amongst, I would say, a more depressing, dark-sounding album, it still fits really well, and it has a nice mix with the other ones. This is basically just a love song that tells of two people who left their home due to a dark past to live on the road, and that basically they're just grateful to have the person that they're with. I think it's really nice. It has a good sentiment to it, and of course the production is really nice on this one here. Next is Serenade of Water, which actually takes up major inspiration from the video game Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and actually takes several quotes directly from the game and uses them throughout the entire track. The whole thing is about time and growing up and leaving the past, which, if you know the game, it is a lot about time, Ocarina of Time. And it's a very solemn song, and it has a really dark tone to it. It's one of the, I would say, the darker songs on the entire LP, but yet the lyrics provide a sort of hopefulness to them in looking forward in time and looking forward to growing up and leaving the past. Next, 5 a.m. Waltz it's actually mostly an instrumental track that really only features lyrics on the second half of it. It is another piece of homage, except this is to a 2015 song from Men I Trust under the same name. It has a short runtime, but feels very fulfilling at the same time, which I really like. You don't feel like you're getting shorted, or you don't feel like you're getting a song that's half done. And the vocals here are especially very dreamy and almost distant sounding. It sounds like you're listening to them in like a live venue and you're all the way in the back, but you're the only person there. And it's sort of spooky and almost haunting and uneasy sounding. The last in this section is Lifelong Song, and this is my favorite on the entire thing. It has a more distinct production right away with a distorted synth blaring throughout the entire track and a sweet little guitar lick that plays alongside it. And it's one that I can never get enough of and I never get sick of, and it's easily the song I find myself revisiting the most. This definitely is my highest recommendation for the entire album. This is the one I would say if you're going to check out one song, check this one out. To me, this is like one of their best, and it is one of their most standout ones, and one where they say they're trying out new production. This is the one that you can obviously really tell it on. Now, for the low points, well, I don't really think there are any songs that I don't really prefer or say are bad in any sense. I would say that I think the band could have used actually some more experimentation on it. I think that while they did use some different sounds and it is a much darker tone, which they are not used to, I would have liked to see them experiment more with the production sound, and even Emma experiment more with her vocals. She's still very soft and easygoing, which of course fits extremely well, but I just would have liked to have seen this be more experimental, and I think that is kind of where a lot of my disappointment comes with the project, is when they talk about this one, they talk about this being like them experimenting. It's not too far out of their lane. But like I said, it's still a really well done album, but I just would have liked to have seen more of that. As I did say though, they did a really good job here. I like how dark and gloomy the whole record is. You really get that feeling from songs like Shoulders or Before Dawn or even the last song Beluga. They provided a nice tone for the album, and I also think that they did a much better job on the intro and outro songs, as I had also talked about in my previous review of I didn't think that the not necessarily the actual intro on Enclave Jazz, but the second song, Norton Commander, didn't do a great job of opening the album up, and that the final track, Poplar Tree, didn't do a good job of closing it off. But I really think that the song Beluga does a really good job of closing it out. It's a little bit less unsettling than the rest of the album, and it is much more calming, and I feel like it almost is this closer that kind of is just barely over a minute long, and it leads you in a sense of sort of wonderment, and it's almost like it's giving you a minute to think about like what you just heard throughout the entire project, and I just think it does really well. I love the simple production on it, and and I also think that the intro does a really nice job too of opening it up. It almost sounds like Emma has she's like chanting something, like I don't know. It sounds almost like some evil chant that's going on. You're hearing it from a distance. It's very eerie and uneasy, and I think it really does a good job for the intro. Now for the highest high section. Here I will talk about what I think is the best vocal performance, best production, best songwriting, and my favorite line from the whole project. The best vocals is going to be on Shoulders. It's eerie and haunting and unlike anything else that Emma has done before on project. It is very spacious, and I think that what she does here is done really well. I would definitely like to see more of this. It definitely leads to that darker tone that the album has. The best production is easily, for me, going to be Lifelong Song. I feel like, was there any doubt? I mean, as I had said before, I love it. It is easily my favorite song on the album, and it is a masterful display of production, and hats off to them for what they did here. This is where I feel like they really put their experimentation on 10 for. Best songwriting, I'm going to say, is Serenade of Water. I love that they implement the quotes from the Zelda song and yet help it fit into the story of the song, and I think it does a really good job for the storytelling, and it's a really unique thing to do, to take these direct quotes from a video game and paying homage to it that way. My favorite line from the project is going to be 3 times the echoes of my name, how could someone not turn insane? Again, I feel like I keep kind of repeating myself, but so when I hear this line, I feel like this really draws into the eeriness and the darkness of the album. Although the production is not necessarily the same, it still has this really creepy sound to the lyrics, and almost makes it creepier than the instrumentation would lead you to believe. Overall, I'd say this is a pretty good outing for Men I Trust. I'd give Untourable Album an 82%. In my opinion, this is their best so far. Even though I did say that they could have used some more experimentation throughout, I still think that they did an excellent job with what they presented here, and it makes me much more excited for what they have to come. As of now in 2023, when I'm recording this, there has been no announcement of a new album, but hopefully soon. But yeah, I think they produced a really interesting idea for this album, which I didn't talk about before, but I should have. And it said, the direct quote for them was that the album was inspired by perhaps the idea that you can never truly return home once you leave. I think it's a really interesting concept. I would have seen them like to expand on it more. I don't think that it was really touched on too much, but regardless, yeah, that is the project. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next review. Make sure to subscribe to see more, and thank you. Bye now.